I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We continue with our Gospels. Now, we've been reading the Sermon on the Mount in these last several videos. This takes place somewhere in Galilee. This is after Christ went down to Jerusalem for the next feast. In my opinion, it was the Feast of Tabernacles. Got into a lot of trouble with the Pharisees over the Sabbath day observance. He was healing on the Sabbath, picking corn on the Sabbath. He declared himself to be Lord of the Sabbath. All those things that got the Jews wanting to kill him again, and so he's now back up in Galilee to avoid them. We have been reading in the Sermon on the Mount. We did read it in Luke, but now we're in Matthew chapter 5. We read it in two portions so far. First portion contained the Beatitudes and, the salt of the earth and light of the world. Second portion was the higher law. Don't just not kill people, but don't think about it. Don't commit adultery, but don't think about committing adultery. That's what we were reading. Now we are going to finish chapter 5 of Matthew, picking it up in verse 33. And once again, I apologize. My upstairs neighbors are being very loud. And I'm trying to read the entire Sermon on the Mount in one day, so there's just going to have all that kind of noise up there. I do apologize. Let us get into this. Verse 33. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, Thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. Now what this is talking about is, it was a kind of a practice among the Jews. This had become part of what would be the oral law, which we will talk about again later. But the idea was, if I say I'm going to do something, as long as I don't swear by God, if I don't say in God's name, or I swear on the temple or whatever, if I just say, yeah, I'll get it done, and I don't do it, I'm okay, because I didn't swear. I didn't take an oath to do it. And Christ is saying here, no, that's a cop-out. If you say you're going to do it, do it. If you say yay, then you have committed yourself. If you say nay, you haven't committed yourself. But don't invoke God to get in, to take the oath. Don't use that as a way of getting out of your commitments. Verse 38. Ye have heard that it hath been said, An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if a man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn thou not away. Now this is an interesting one. I've heard various things, the idea of if they would compel you to go a mile, go twain. I've heard people say, well, this was the Roman law, that they could commandeer people, but they couldn't make him go more than a mile. I honestly don't believe that that is true. I'd have to see a little more evidence, an actual legal document from the Roman period to believe that that is true. It's a kind of ridiculous law, and the Romans were actually pretty smart when it came to their legal system. So, but this is just saying, don't fight against people. Don't try and don't get revenge. Don't try and say, oh, well, this is all, like when you go to court and somebody sues you, well, don't worry about it. They sue you for $100, oh, give them $150. Don't be stingy about things. Don't worry about that. Don't try to exact exactly what is due. You don't go and say, oh, well, I did $100 worth of damage, so I'm only going to pay $100. I did $101.10 of damage, and I will pay no more in reparations. Don't be too strict on it. You did some damage, okay, repair it. Give them a little extra. It's an interesting admonition here by Christ, but I don't know. Anyway, let's just continue. Verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Now this is very similar to Luke. Remember, in the Joseph Smith translation of Luke, Joseph Smith corrected it to say, instead of what thank have ye, to what reward have ye, as it is here. And where it says, pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you, in Luke, in the King James, it just says, those who despitefully use you, but the Joseph Smith translation adds in the and persecute you to make it unify with Matthew a little more here. And so this is what it's saying, if you're only doing the baseline, if you're only doing the very minimum of morality, what's the point? You're doing nothing more than anybody else. But you need to do the higher law. And Christ is here giving the higher law, and he's saying, okay, now you've got the higher law. Live to a higher standard than everybody else. Be that shining light on the hill. Be the salt of the earth. But to do that, you have to live a higher law. Now, this is where we get that famous last verse there, be ye therefore perfect. And remember here that the term perfect, that the Greek term that perfect is translated from, means more complete or finished. And that this is a reference to not perfection in this life, but to live in this life in such a way that you will be perfected in the next. And this is why Christ only references the Father. Be therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Because Christ is not yet resurrected. And to be perfected, you must be resurrected. And so he is not listing himself there. He's saying just the Father is the one that is perfect. He will, as we will see when we read in 3 Nephi, include himself after his resurrection. But he doesn't include himself here. Very important note to make. Now, I leave that here, and we will read the Joseph Smith translation for this in the next video, so I will see you there.